All right, so now we're going to begin our AP Physics C exam review. We're going to start with kinematics. You can look at the AP Physics 1 exam review, but we'll talk about some specific things that are unique to AP Physics C that's updated for the 2025 exam. So let's kind of get into it. So general speaking, kinematics are variables. We have position, velocity, and acceleration. And you should know this from your calculus. Derivative position is velocity. Derivative velocity is acceleration. Our kinematic equations here, we still use them in AP Physics C. You could derive everything from calculus, but under constant acceleration, we can derive all of these equations. Really, really useful because there will still be cases where we may use constant acceleration kinematics. It's still a common scenario. So if the acceleration is not constant, we can't use these equations. Remember, near the surface of the Earth, acceleration's downward, g of 9.8. Objects at a maximum height have a vertical velocity of 0. Objects at rest, dropped, or released have a velocity of 0. And objects at constant speed have an acceleration of 0, or a constant velocity, technically. Okay, and then in terms of graphs of motions, you guys should remember this from your calculus, but any derivatives we take, that is the slope of a tangent line, any areas are done by integral, and be very careful, the integral of velocity is the displacement, and the integral of the absolute value of the velocity, or the speed, is going to be the distance traveled. And the integral of the acceleration is going to give you the change in velocity. That's that calculus term. Integral of a rate gives you the net change in that amount. Vectors. In AP Physics C, we talk about vectors in terms of I hat, j hat, k hat having the x, y, and z component. And this is a vector notation that we use in AP Physics C. So for example, if you see 3i hat minus 2j hat, that is a vector that has a plus 3 in the x direction and negative 2 in the y direction. And sometimes you're given, this is the component form, but sometimes you're given like just the arrow and a direction and an angle, and we may decompose them into x and y components by making these right triangles. So you may be given a magnitude and an angle and then asked to convert into component form, or you may be given component form and asked to find these guys. Again, always derived using right triangle trigonometry, right? Overall problem solving steps, when you have, we're going to list our 5 kinematic variables in the x and the y directions. Sometimes it's one dimensional, you only pick one direction. We're going to sign which directions are positive and negative. A lot of times in projectile motion, the acceleration 0 and the velocity is constant in the x direction. That's only in free fall, so this is for free fall or projectile motion. Vertical direction, acceleration is generally downward at 9.8. If we're near the Earth, it could be a different planet, so then that would be a different number. We decompose velocities into x and y components. We identify the unknowns and what you're trying to solve for, and we apply our kinematic equations. Often in 2 dimensions, time is the only common variable between the x and the y components. Maximum height, vertical component velocity is 0, and just make sure you're consistent with your signs. Last part is relative motion. When moving the same direction as another object, you subtract vectors to determine relative motion. So if 2 things are moving to the right at 30 miles per hour or 30 meters per second, then relative to each other, they're not moving. It's like 2 cars are just moving together at the same speed. But if they're heading towards each other, this guy's going 30 meters per second and this guy's going 30 meters per second towards each other, relative velocities, you would add them. It's like that guy's coming towards at 60 meters per second. Okay. So let's take a look at a few problems here. So velocity is a function of time is moving along a straight line as shown on the graph. For which of the following sections of the graph is the acceleration constant and non-zero? Well, we have a velocity versus time. The derivative of the velocity is the acceleration, which is the slope of the tangent line. So when is the slope of the tangent line constant and non-zero? Not here, because that's constant but 0. Here, the slopes are changing, so not constant. So R and S has a constant slope. T and S has a constant slope that's non-zero. So RS and TS, TU has a straight line. So not this one, this one, only R and S and T and U. So RS and ST, right? Like those right there. Let's look at a couple of FRQ problems. So a particle moves along a straight line with the acceleration that depends on its velocity according to the relationship. The acceleration is negative kV. So it's the acceleration is a function of the velocity. At time t equals 0, the particle's velocity is v0 in the positive direction. Suppose the constant k is increased while keeping v0 the same. Will the total distance the particle travels before coming to rest increase, decrease, or stay the same? Okay, so what's happening here is this thing has an acceleration. Let's see, moves along a straight line. So it's moving a straight line. It has an acceleration negative kv, so it's moving to the right v0. And it has an acceleration in the opposite direction, right? The acceleration is negative kv. Okay, now if I increase that, and let's say it doesn't change directions. This is like the particle never doesn't change directions. Doesn't change directions. This is a fair assumption, and we might see how that applies in a second. So the acceleration is to the left. So if we increase the amount of acceleration to the left, then he's not going to travel as far, right? Eventually, he's going to come to a stop. So the total distance before, that's before coming to a rest. So I guess that doesn't matter. So it's going to increase. It's going to decrease because you're going to have more acceleration to the left. Will cause the particle to slow down faster. Slow down faster. So it won't travel as far. Okay, that's all you got to say. Now let's derive an expression for the particle's velocity as a function of time using calculus. Then derive an expression for the total distance the particle travels before coming to rest in terms of v0 and k. Okay, so here we have acceleration. Now, in terms of this, how do you solve for this? You can't just integrate because acceleration is velocity is a function of time. So the acceleration being negative kv, remember the acceleration is the derivative of the velocity. In which case, how would I solve for the velocity? Is I got to do separation of variables. This is because v is a variable and this is a variable. So we'll move the v to this side and move the dt up. And then we separated the variables. Now we'll integrate this. So it'll be natural log absolute value of v is equal to negative kt plus c, right? You can do that. This is the calculus way to do that. If you're not sure you want to do that, you can integrate this from v0 to 0 if you want to put bounds. So I'll show you both ways, just in case you have a preference. But in calculus, this is what we would have done. We would have done absolute value of e is equal e to the negative kt e to the c. And then this, you make it arbitrary constant. You can strip away the absolute value. It's going to be c e to the negative kt. And then we just take the advantage that when t is equal to 0, the velocity should be v0. So the velocity is going to be, so v0 will be c e to the 0, which is just c. So therefore, v is equal to v0. The c is equal to v0. Plug that into there, and that would be our expression. Now, you could put bounds on it, which is a pretty, or if you want to put bounds, you would integrate from v0 to 0, because that's where it's going to go from a velocity starting at v0, ending at 0, and that's going to be from 0. Actually, this one's probably a little trickier to do because you would have to, you'd integrate from 0. Actually, so you'd go v0 to a final velocity v, and you'd integrate from 0 to time negative k dt. So that would be ln absolute value of v from v0 to v, negative kt from 0 to t. And so you get ln of v minus ln of v0 equals negative kt. This you can combine into a single fraction. V over v0 equals negative kt. Put e as the base to get rid of the natural log. And so v would equal v0 e to the negative kt. Okay, so either way you want to do it is totally fine. Now we want to derive an expression for the total distance he travels. Because he doesn't change directions, he's just going to come to a stop. You would just, the distance traveled would just integrate from 0 to the time he comes to a stop of v of t dt. Right? You could put an absolute value, but this thing's going to be positive the whole time because it doesn't change direction. So it doesn't really matter if you put an absolute value there or not. The displacement and the distance will be the same. Now, when does this go to 0? Is infinite time, right? Because this thing the exponential will always be positive. Only as t goes to infinity would you do that. So you would do the integral from 0 to infinity of v0 e to the negative kt, right? For this. And so we want to do the integral. That's going to be negative v0 over k e to the negative kt. You can do a u substitution if you're not sure how to do that. You're going to go from 0 to infinity. That's going to be negative v0 over k e to the negative infinity minus e to the 0. This is not good calculus notation, but this is not AP calculus. You're allowed to do this kind of stuff. You don't need to write the limit notation. E to the negative infinity is going to go to 0, right? And then this becomes negative 1, so it's just going to be 1. The negatives will cancel, so you get v0 over k is the distance traveled. Okay? And so that's the distance traveled there. Does your equation for distance from part B agree with your reasoning for part A? Justify why or why not. So we said as k increases, the distance is going to decrease, which is what we said. So we say, yes, it agrees. Agrees because as k increases, v0 over k will decrease. Okay. All right. Let's do a two-dimensional one now. Ball is launched from origin with initial speed v0. So it's launched from the origin. v0 angle theta above the horizontal. The vertical motion is influenced only by gravity. However, the horizontal motion is subject to a time-dependent acceleration. The overall acceleration is given by negative kt equals negative g, where k is a positive constant. So this thing's going to come and maybe not be like, it's just going to come and land in some weird way. And the acceleration, we have a downward acceleration of g, and we have a leftward acceleration. The x component of the acceleration is kt to the left, if we say right is the positive direction, right? So this is the x component. So here we have a non-constant acceleration. So we're not going to use kinematic equations. However, we are going to think about the similar process for setup. We're going to think about what kinematic variables we know, and we're going to talk about, or we're going to do our general calculus terms for non-constant acceleration. So suppose the constant k is increased while keeping this the same. So we're going to have a stronger acceleration to the left. Will the total horizontal distance the ball travels return to the ground increase? Let's assume it lands to the right still. Assume lands to the right. That means it to the right. Like it didn't like come back all the way around. So we don't have to worry about that. So it's going to decrease because you're going to have a stronger acceleration to the left. So similar to the previous one, stronger acceleration to the left will decrease. Actually, you shouldn't say left. You say negative direction because it didn't really say it was right or left. Will decrease the horizontal velocity and distance, horizontal distance. Okay. So let's derive an expression for the range that he travels here, right? And so we have to think about, like the y direction, the acceleration is constant. So let's think about first. Let's find the x directions components, right? So we know that the velocity in the x direction we can decompose is going to be v0 cosine theta. The y component is v0 sine theta. So we know the acceleration in the x, right, is negative kt. That means we can know the velocity in the x is just doing the integral. It's going to be negative kt squared over 2 plus c. Now we know at time equals 0, the x velocity should be v0 cosine theta, right? So you could just say like, well, v0 cosine theta. So when t is equal to 0, you should get c. So c is equal to v0 cosine theta, and that means I know my x component of the velocity, negative kt squared over 2 plus v0 cosine theta. Now I need to know the position. So the displacement, the horizontal displacement, is going to be that integral from 0 to some time t, right, of negative kt squared over 2 plus v0 cosine theta dt. Now, I need to know how long it takes until it hits the ground, right? Like, this is t final. This is when it will hit the ground. So this is what our range is. So I need to know what this variable is. Otherwise, I can't do this integral, right? And so that's where the y component comes in. Because the acceleration is constant in the y direction, I can use this projectile motion. We say up is positive, right? So the vertical displacement 0, because it's going to go up, and then it's like the displacements to the right. It's going to go up and down. The vertical displacement 0. Initial velocity is v0 sine theta. The acceleration is negative g, And then this is TF, which is what I want to know. So I can use, I have 3 known quantities. I can solve for the unknown by looking at this kinematic equation. So we have 0 equals V0 sine theta times t minus 1/2 gt squared. And notice I can factor out a t here. Because equal to 0, so either t is equal to 0, which doesn't make sense because that means it hasn't left yet, or V0 sine theta minus 1/2 gt is equal to 0. So the t is equal to 2 V0 sine theta over g, and we're going to plug that. That's our TF. So we're going to integrate from 0 to t to 2 V0 sine theta over g of negative kt squared over 2 plus V0 cosine theta dt, right? And so then what we're going to do here is this is going to be negative kt cubed over 3 plus V0 cosine theta. This is just a constant, right? So then you just multiply by t, and we're going to go from 0 to 2 V0 sine theta over g. If I plug in 0 to both of these, I'm just going to get 0, so just plug that into here. I'm going to get negative k 2 V0 sine theta over g cubed over 3 plus V0 cosine theta times 2 V0 sine theta over g. And you can leave it like that. You can simplify it if you want. This thing, you can make it 2 V0 squared sine theta cosine theta over g, and then minus, this is going to be 8 thirds. There's a k here, V0 cubed sine cubed theta over g cubed, like that. So that is, or you could write it like that if you want to simplify, but you don't really have to. Does your equation for the horizontal distance from part B agree with your reasoning for part A? Justify why or why not? So if you, what was it, increasing k will make this thing more negative. And as long as it's not too negative, right? Like we didn't pass by where we started. It's going to reduce the range. So yes, as k increases, we subtract a larger term for 8 thirds k V0 cubed sine cubed theta over g cubed. So the range will be smaller. Okay, and that handles that question.